Okay, perfect. That's all good. Okay, lovely. I'm going to set us live. Here we go.
Okay.
Beautiful. So we are opening up now. I can see a few more participants coming on. Let's get our chat function going. I'm going to pop in over here on the right just while everybody's jumping on the name of the group, which is Weddinar. So you can always search for that on YouTube, and then you can also search for that in the Facebook group if you want to come and join our community later on as well. Oh, we've got lots of lovely participants jumping on today. Let's have a look. Hi, Cherie. Hi, Lisa Light. Oh, I know who you're on here to see. Just I thought I'd mention that to Alice to make her even more nervous. Hey, Serge. Hey, Natalie. Good to see everybody. Thank you for coming in and joining us today. I'm going to get right into things this afternoon. Now, I'm super excited. I'm going to put this onto this view here. Here we go. Yeah, I'm so excited for this week's webinar. I am honestly so lucky because I know both these amazing women personally. I get to chat with them all the time, share ideas, learn from each other. And thank you so much, ladies, for coming on here today and agreeing to be a part of this, because I know that you're not a part of our industry. So it's a huge favor. Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of it.
Thanks for having us.
It's kind of it's kind of really exciting. We've got so many, like I've got the little cheat sheets that they're going to be chatting about today. There are so many secrets and techniques that, you know, companies like Dove, like Inova Pharmaceuticals are using with brands like Demazin and their new product Kynd vitamins. And we're really going to get to hear from people who are outside of our industry so that we can come back from COVID with almost like a bit of a competitive advantage over other people in our industry, because we've got some of the outside knowledge and hear what they're doing to support their brands in this like post-COVID economic downturn, whatever phrase you want to put on it, because it's going to be hard, but it's going to be a lot of opportunities as well. So before I jump into introducing these guys, I just wanted to remind you that you can always watch this again later. I've got my pen and paper ready. I think sometimes you kind of need to start having some thoughts and then you want to go back and listen to it again. So you can always jump onto YouTube, have a look at Weddinar on there. It has its own YouTube channel. Plus you can go back and binge watch any of the past episodes. We've got marketing, we've got social media, we've got how to build a luxury brand. There's a whole lot of topics on there in the YouTube channel called Weddinar. It's all there so you can go back and have another look. Plus as well, I'm going to be pulling some of the snippets from today and putting them onto our Instagram page. So you can go to Rachel Enlighten, crazy spelling on it. I'll put it in here as well in case you need it. RACHAEL. INLIGHTEN, just to make it all a little bit more difficult. That's my page, so you can jump on there and you can see some little key topics that we're going to chat about today. I'll post them on there and you can always have a little bit of a recap on that as well. But my favorite part is our community. So if you haven't already, come on and jump on the Facebook group. It's called Weddinar. It's been fantastic because it's really starting to take shape. We've got almost 200 members on there now. And what I'd love to see is for us all to become a resource where we can refer each other, help each other out. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I know our first wedding is coming back the Sunday after next. So it feels like everything's starting to get a little bit closer to coming back online. So it'd be great if we can all have that as a resource where we can tell each other, share each other, refer each other. And if you want to share us about your business, you know, pop yourself on there as well. It's a really good way to do it. Now, let me see. Oh, at the end, Alison from Inova Pharmaceuticals is also going to be giving away a couple of her collagen products as well. I like collagen, so I'm very excited for that. Thanks very much, Al. Okay, perfect. Now, this week, hang on, we need to start with a cheers. Cheers.
Oops,
It's
cheers.
Friday. Yay. I've got a gin and tonic. Birthday gin and tonic. It's all good fun. Okay. So, introductions. Here, I hope we're all seeing in the same spot, is the beautiful Alice Johnson. I'm going to put you onto this view, see if that helps a little bit. Alice is the half marathon running, gym sweating, cocktail loving, brand manager for Dove Australia. She's been with Unilever for a few years now, having worked on works on Dove, but also on the Ben & Jerry's brand as well, which is very yummy.
Mhm.
Plus, we have Alison Hall, who is killer on a pair of skis. I could barely keep up with her on the jumps down the slope, which shouldn't surprise me, seeing as she passed down her love of competitiveness and risk-taking to her children, whether that be playing board games or on the ski slopes. She's also a marketing consultant for Inova Pharmaceuticals, working on brands such as Demazin. And as well, Al, you have recently launched a new product called Kynd vitamins, which I was kind of surprised at because, I don't know, maybe during current lockdown circumstances, the economic climate at the moment, it doesn't seem like the most opportune time to launch a product. Is it working, and how's it all going?
Yeah, it's going really well. And this is the product. It's called Kynd, and it's a range of vitamins. And it's a range of vitamins with a difference because it's all about giving back. And certainly it was very challenging to launch at this time. It was a brand that was acquired by Inova really only at the end of last year. So we had a very short amount of time to launch it. And really it wasn't an option for us to consider postponing the launch. But there were, of course, challenges that came up as we came into sort of March, April, and got into trying to actually launch a product. One of the main ones was actually around ranging. So because these are vitamins and they're particularly ranged in pharmacy and grocery, we actually hit a little bit of a wall with some of our regular customers that we work with, like Chemist Warehouse and the likes, just because COVID was such a mad time for everyone. So we haven't gained as much ranging as we'd like, and that'll be certainly something that we build on as we go out beyond COVID. So we're available in Coles and Blooms at the moment. But
now, I'm actually going to jump in on a question for you just at that second. You mentioned straight up giving back. Now, at the moment, I guess I sometimes when I'm selling or I'm trying to promote our business, I'm like, I don't care about helping others right now. I just want to have my sales and I want my dollars. And so how important is remembering to, like, how important is giving back as a marketing technique for you? Is it something that we should do later when we've got more time, or is it actually critical and more important almost than the hard sell?
Well, I think it's really critical, and certainly it's the premise of this brand. It's really all about giving back. One of the things about COVID that we've seen is, and you talk about, yes, it was challenging on one hand, but one of the great things about it was that people became a lot more aware about our country, about thinking about other people, and it actually had the benefit that we saw almost like a kindness revolution start throughout COVID. You know, there were things like hashtag viral kindness and the kindness pandemic social groups that we've been able to leverage as part of our launch. So I think coming back to your original question about how is it challenging, we had to continually pivot, and we had to even pivot in the way we communicated. And so we, you know, really changed our media strategy. We looked very quickly at how people were consuming media throughout COVID. And that was things like, obviously, socials rose significantly, podcasts, people started listening to a lot more podcasts and watching catch-up TV and things like that. So we leveraged that type of media in our communications, and we're constantly evaluating our message through all our socials constantly with sponsored posts. We're looking at what ones are working, what videos people are watching for longer, and changing the messaging to work with what people are interested in.
Oh, that's cool.
What we're seeing, obviously, is that people are interested in hearing about how we give back and how one product bought means one donated and things like that.
So basically you're sort of saying in terms of what you're putting on social media, people don't want to hear 10% off, dollar off pricing strategies. They want to hear, oh, you gave back and you helped. And then if people have during COVID increased their social media watching, then we want to be telling stories that they want to watch, because it's almost our source of entertainment now, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's about feeling good and feeling like you're supporting fellow Australians as well. So one of the pivots that we made really quickly was the actual donation that we were going to give was going to be to Africa, to children in Africa. And it became very clear that we needed to work with suppliers and actually develop a new product to give away. So we give away an immunity product to Australians in need, be it homeless people, teachers for back to school while they're having to teach during COVID times and things like that.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so it's one, it's about Australians, and two, it's about immunity, which is obviously a big topic for people during COVID.
See,
So
and that's interesting. Already I'm kind of going, oh, wow. Like you haven't told me anything about the product of the vitamins itself, but already I'm feeling like, oh, I'm going to go check out this brand.
Yeah. But I think it's really important, and we've had to work really hard during COVID to be adaptable, to find ways to differentiate the brand, our message, to differentiate the message and what we're offering.
That's interesting. And Alice, you at Dove, you with your Real Women campaign, it's kind of similar because showing real women, that doesn't actually have that much to do with how well your soap works, does it?
No, you're right. And I think for us, we're lucky for Dove. We've been around for 60 plus years. So, and we kind of stem on our purpose of being about real women, real beauty. So it's not new news for Dove, but still making sure that we land that message with consumers, staying true to who we are and bringing that through our comms. So whether that's specifically, for example, linking to our body wash, embracing your stretch mark, birthmarks, all of that stuff, it's all that purpose, feeling comfortable in your own skin, and then also tying our product in with it as well. And we've also found in this time, similar to what Alison was saying, there's a few different consumer trends that people are interested in. One key one is Australian made. Australians really want to support Australian made products at the moment and rally behind each other. So we're fortunate Dove is made in Australia. So that's something that we're calling out more clearly on pack and in our communications as well.
And that's interesting, actually, because that's something we can do as well within the wedding industry. You're not actually doing anything differently now. All you're doing is actually going back and, like, you've always been Australian made, but now you're going, okay, well, suddenly that's more important. So now I'm going to change my marketing and tell people about the fact I'm Australian made. I've always done it. It didn't seem a priority to tell people before.
Exactly. And it's such a simple way to differentiate yourself in the market without an extreme cost, because you're right, it's something that you've already done. It's not going out of your way to do anything more or different, but then just bringing that to top of mind for consumers out there.
That's cool. And I know one of the things that both you guys highlighted to me beforehand was that people are now researching and they're becoming more and more informed or better informed before they make a purchasing decision. Number one, they have time to do these things. And I think this is something that we see in the wedding industry. It is getting harder and harder to get a deposit put down. People do have the time to look around and shop around, and they want to be really informed to make sure they get it right. How do you give your clients or your consumers more information about you? Whoever wants to answer that. I was going to say Alice, but you can go for it. Yeah.
I mean, I think for us, it's really about trying to leverage types of communication like socials. Working with influencers has been really important for this brand, and all types of influencers, be it health and wellness or beauty, through our website and making sure that we're doing the right search engine organisation, marketing and all of that to make sure that people are finding our website and finding our messages.
Now, I know in weddings, influencers is almost like a scary term. Like everyone calls themselves an influencer. When you are working with influencers, Alison, how do you choose them? And do you go for someone who has a big following or someone who has a lot of engagement? Or how do you choose who's a good influencer for your brand?
Probably we do obviously look for big ones that are aligned with our cause, but also nano influencers who might actually tend to have more engagement, we find. So we do look at what sort of engagement they're having, because you often find that the nanos are the ones who have really good connections with their followers.
That's really interesting because, yeah. I was going to say, Wendy from Red Wonderland, who was on the last Weddinar, she said the same thing. It's all about the nano influencer, just people who have small, really legitimate, hardcore, authentic followings. Are you finding the same thing, Alice?
I think for us it's a little bit different, just because Dove being such a big brand and such a fast moving consumer good that's in a lot of showers and households, because we are a mass brand and we're playing to a mass audience of grocery shoppers predominantly, we do look to those more nano ones, but it's more that mid-tier where we can get massive reach and awareness from them as well. But going back to like our brand purpose and who we are, we don't deviate from that at all. So it's always looking for women who are really true to themselves, on brand for Dove as well. So really embrace themselves for how they are, and breaking those different beauty stereotypes. For us, it's more making sure that they're completely aligned with our purpose as a brand before looking at their mass reach and engagement.
That's interesting. I noticed as well, Alison, you mentioned earlier when we were chatting about keeping the lines of communication open, and then offering information in different ways. Like instead of, I guess for photography, instead of us going out there and saying, this is a photo that we took, actually giving some advice and saying, well, this is how you can take a photo like this at home. Is that something that you guys are doing a lot of, Alison?
I think the way we're trying to do it is probably more provide more around not only what the product does, but information about how you can be kind to yourself, and so giving stories about how you can manage your budget or how you can look after your kids. Everything that really appeals to our target in terms of what she's dealing with in her life, and trying to add value through communications that way as well. And those posts do tend to get a lot of engagement as well.
That's cool. And it's something that I'm a massive, massive believer in. Like for everything that we do, rather than try and advertise at people, we try and serve them. So rather than saying, oh, look, here are some of our wedding photos, look how awesome they are, and we are the best. Instead, we'll phrase it around, hey, are you looking for a beautiful reception venue? Why don't you check out these different venues? So now we're serving our couple something they need, which is help in choosing a venue, and they're seeing our photos at the same time. So trying to structure it around that serving rather than selling at people.
I think that's how you have more long-term engagement with particularly through socials and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Finding more value that way.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Now, Alice, in terms of what your pricing and packaging strategies are and things like that, with it being likely to be an economic downturn for us in the wedding industry, we're sort of going, look, we are a luxury spend, but it's still, for some of us, it's still an essential spend. So, if we're a wedding, you still need to have a wedding dress. You still need to have a wedding venue. You still need to have a wedding photographer, hopefully. So even though they are luxury items, they're still sort of essentials for a wedding day. And I know that there's a big, I get scared. I look at the industry and I'm like going, oh, should I be putting my prices down? Do I need to change my pricing strategy? Is that something that you're doing with Dove? And yeah, is that something you're finding everywhere?
So we definitely look at pricing strategy, but the first thing that we would prefer to do before looking at pricing strategy is how we communicate the value that we're offering. Because at the moment, although people are more strapped for cash, they want to feel like they're getting value. So it's not necessarily about being the cheapest in market. It's more the perceived value that they're getting with it. So similar to what you and Alison was saying before, we're now kind of calling out the additional benefits that come with Dove, such as Australian made, such as our real beauty work that we do, our Dove Self-Esteem Project, PETA certified, all of those kind of things. It's kind of adding more value into the product and the proposition, so people think that they're getting more bang for their buck. When it comes to, obviously consumers are looking to down trade, and there needs to be an entry level, if you like.
All right, hang on. What's down trade mean?
So down trading is where consumers, now that they're more strapped for cash, they don't have as much disposable income coming into these harder times. The tier that they maybe would have preferred to go to before, they might then look to the tier below that. But our kind of plan is to try and stop the down trading and encourage the up trading. So by doing that, it's again that value piece. So really going over and above and communicating the value that we have for Dove. But we are not naive. We do understand there are going to be the down traders out there and wanting that entry level piece or proposition. So how do we make sure that that's also a value offering that gets them in the door to our product? Hopefully they then love the product, know and love the value, and then the next time we'll convert them to an up trader.
Okay, so by that would be sort of like offering them to begin with almost like a free trial, or maybe a smaller pack size or a smaller portion of what you do?
Yep. So it's interesting for us as well, just with our different channels that we have. Our grocery shopper, that being Coles and Woolies, is quite different to our pharmacy shopper. So to your point, the pharmacy shopper, they actually prefer like a smaller pack size as an entry level, just to kind of dabble in it perhaps. Whereas our grocery shopper wants the bigger pack size at a better value point or bundling. So sometimes our strategy has to change depending on which shoppers are shopping where.
And it's interesting too. I think a lot of people in the wedding industry will often get our referrals for new clients will come from another source. So if we have relationships with a wedding venue, for example, then if we're doing fireworks or we're doing a dance floor or we provide the chandeliers or the table centers, sometimes we can get that referral straight from the venue. So even if we sort of can maybe get that as low as we need to, but then really focus our energy on turning that client into an up trader.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
And have you got any, Alison, are you sort of finding the same, like the same thing for you guys with, maybe with Demazin might be a better example. I mean, cough mixture must be so in demand right now. No one wants to be seen coughing in public.
Yeah, no,
Even if you have COVID or you don't, no one wants to cough in public.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think actually probably for Kynd, it's I'd probably give Kynd as the example because that's where coming back to that cause marketing is that's really the value that we're offering.
Yes.
And that feel good and knowing that they've given. It's kind of like, you know, a brand like Thank You. It's a very kind of that you're actually giving back. So that's the value we're trying to communicate. But it's interesting just listening about what we're saying. I think for the service industry, there's a real opportunity, you know, as we do go into recession and people are more concerned about how they're spending their money.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things we've seen, and it's even just a little example, but we've seen the prevalence of afterpay through our e-commerce platforms and how well that's being received. And, you know, it's something like 95% of people are taking up the opportunity for afterpay. And it's just, I think for service industry, it's maybe looking at ways they can differentiate a package, like, you know, like the financial industry might have a honeymoon package or something like that, where it might be a delayed payment or some sort of payment plan, you know, for people who are having harder times or something like that, whereas not necessarily a promotion, but more of a payment plan.
Yeah. And I know I actually 100% agree with that. I would say that our photography market in Sydney, we tend to have a lot of our couples come from really right across Sydney, and often they will purchase from us because they love what we do so much. They're really passionate. It's not that they actually have the most money in the world. It's just that photography for them, capturing their family, it's a priority. So if you can offer them a payment plan, it's massive, and often they don't end up taking it up. But just knowing that it's there as an option will then make them go, okay, I will upgrade to this, and then when the time comes for payment, they will actually just pay for it straight away. If you are in the service industry, there are a lot of places that it can be hard to get a payment plan because you don't have a product that can be resold if their payments default. The company that we use is called EasyPay, EZYPAY, and the difference there is that you don't get the money upfront. You actually get the money incrementally as they pay it. So it's almost like a direct debit system, but you don't need to hassle the client or follow them up for the payments. It's all done for you, which makes it really nice and elegant. But yeah, that's the only difference with services. You'll sometimes find that you'll need to wait for the money as the money comes in, as opposed to with a product where you can get the money up front on an interest scheme. What was I going to say? Oh, Alison, when you were saying about cause marketing before, I started thinking for us in the wedding industry, I think it's a huge opportunity because all we're doing at the moment is posting flashbacks and remember the times and take us back to, and you know, and there's not very much engagement in that. There's not very much that I fear that our couples would look at it and go, oh yeah, that wedding again, I've seen that before, or oh yeah, they're still not shooting again yet. But if we could be out there doing good, supporting a cause, it actually gives us a story to tell in our socials as well. How did you go about choosing the cause? I know you said you switched from it being an African-based organisation that you sponsored to an Australian. How did you then find someone that you wanted to support?
Well, we really wanted to look at supporting all Australians. So we just approached a lot of different homeless shelters. We approached schools. We approached Feed Our Medics, which is an organisation that actually goes into hospitals and gives doctors and nurses during these times meals.
Oh, wow.
We're also, so we've really done actually a lot of just desktop research, to be honest, in finding the partners that are the right partners for us. But I think, you know, it's about finding the cause that is relevant to your target market. So, you know, for whoever your target is, they're obviously going to have a feel for what motivates them more. And you know, across the service industry where you've got a lot of different type of groups of people, you might have different, like a group of different causes. I mean, Priceline, as an example, is a company that they support about 5 different causes.
Yep.
So that they appeal to a cross section of people.
I think one at the moment as well that's quite high priorities, like mental health. That's obviously been a real struggle for a lot of Australians at the moment. We work quite closely with the Butterfly Foundation, which works for mental health and eating disorders. And so that's definitely, speaking to them over the last few months, they're in serious high demand, such as Lifeline, etc. So that's probably another good area that needs a lot of help and support at the moment.
And how do you track if your support of these causes is helping your sales? Is it just anecdotal? Is it because you get more in likes and engagement on your posts, or it's just something that you can't really quantify?
It can be really hard for us to quantify just because we are such a heavily promoted product and industry as well, being in personal care and in the big players of Coles and Woolworths. But it's more the awareness and definitely the engagement with the media campaigns that we put out. And then it's something that we just also like to do. We don't necessarily have to scream about all the time, but we just kind of do it because that's what we feel is the right thing to do. And particularly a brand at our scale, we're able to kind of make quite a big difference with that. So I would say it is quite hard to measure, but it's just that other value adding thing, something else that you can add, you know, to your marketing campaign or to your pitch or whatever it is, just to kind of add that in there for, you know, it might prick someone's ears up to be like, oh, that's actually a real concern to me. That's really nice that they're doing that.
That's cool. That's cool. Now, I'm just having a look through. I've got a couple of questions here that got sent in to us in advance. If you've got a question, feel free to pop it in here in the chat. This is the amazing thing about going live with everything, that we can actually ask questions live and access these 2 amazing marketing gurus. Now, the question that we had from Events by Marios, and I'll let you guys choose who wants to answer it. I'll just let you know the question is, with Marios, he's looking to, let me just bring it up here, rebranding. Is this the time to rebrand? And how does one know if the rebrand will be a positive change? So Marios would like to rebrand right now, but he's not sure if the time is right. I'll throw that open to whoever would like to answer that one.
My opinion would be to not go through a total rebrand. I think there's enough going on at the moment. If you've already got brand equity behind your current brand, it's best to kind of focus on your top things that are doing really well. So for example, for us, we then kind of strip back and look at just our core range. That's where our bulk of the money's made, and also our core single-minded messaging that people know and love about Dove, and really push that forward. And then adding those other little nuggets of extra value adding based on what consumers are wanting in this time, rather than doing, because a rebrand can be a lot of effort, time and money without the absolute guaranteed reward at the end. So I'd say maybe make more finer tweaks to what you've currently got and really hone in on what's really working for you at the moment.
Oh, that's good advice, because for all of us in the wedding industry, we are coming out of a time of zero income or close to zero income. So it's definitely a great time, I guess, to work on that rebranding and start thinking about it. But you're right, it can be very expensive to do a full rebrand of everything, websites, all that sort of thing. Would you agree with that, Alison?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I mean, certainly you'd have no doubt some equity within the brand that you have. So I think it's more about, if you want to slightly differentiate your what you're doing or your offering, and, you know, potentially looking out to trends that are happening in because we're going into recession times, what other companies across the world are doing, you know, looking at ways you can slightly change what you're offering and what consumers want. So maybe even reaching out to your target and trying to find out what's important to them right now. Ways you could do this on your website. You could have a little monitor, a global monitor, or an Australian monitor where people answer questions about what's important to them. So maybe tweaking your offering as opposed to a rebrand, I would say.
That's cool. There's actually a really a great program that we use called Typeform, and it's like a really fun way to interact with people, and then they can fill in, like you can have your past couples fill in a little inquiry or a questionnaire or a survey form about you, and that can be a really fun way to do it. So that's really good. So really, rather than doing a full rebrand, oh good, I'm glad that helps, Maris. Rather than doing a full rebrand, focus on what products people want right now. focus on getting clients in the door and then incrementally upselling them as well. And then focus on the reasons why we add value. So why, you know, whether it's our cause marketing, whether it's just whether we started or we just start highlighting something we've always done, but showing people why we're worth the money that we're worth.
Yeah.
I think one other thing that I really want to add, because I recently attended a seminar and this message came through really loud and clear, particularly in recession times. People think that they need to scale back their spend in terms of their advertising. And that is certainly, you've really got two weapons during recession, and it's your brand and what your product is. And it's making sure that you continue to advertise. And there's actually been a lot of studies and articles written, even by Harvard University, about how brands that continue to advertise throughout recession times will maintain share of voice in people's minds and be remembered post-recession. So they'll bounce back from recession better. So, I mean, obviously, you know, advertising can be expensive, particularly when you're not having as much revenue. But I think it's important to make sure that, you know, you continue up socials and that relevant communication and being in people's minds and that relevance. I think that's really an important thing to do, even if you feel like it's the first thing to cut.
Yeah, you're so right. That's something we've kind of been saying. One, making sure you're physically available on a shelf, but the two, making sure there's that mental availability. So you're top of mind when people are thinking of a product, what they're going to buy for a particular body wash, deodorant, whatever it is in our categories, that Dove's the brand that they're thinking of. And that, you're so right, is exactly from being present in the media, on the different media channels that your consumers are using.
That's excellent. That's really good. And I guess, you know, that for us in the wedding industry, there's been a lot of talk of, should we be on TikTok? Should we be on Facebook? Should we be on Instagram? And I guess just thinking to what you guys are saying now, then, you know, maybe it is the time to really be upping our social game and coming across those different platforms, even if it's not bringing in dollars in the door and inquiries immediately. It still means that our couples are seeing us regularly, seeing us all the time, seeing us top of mind. And that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's perfect. Thank you so much, guys. Now, does anyone else have any other questions before I do Alison's little giveaway? No, I don't think I've got any more coming through here. I'm so glad that helped you, Marios. Now, Alison, tell us about the product that you like, the product that you're giving away.
So we've got two of these. This is one of our Kynd collagen products, and it's a super strength double dose of collagen in a sachet format. So it's really tasty. You can have it in water to drink in the mornings, and it's a 10 sachet dose. So if you're getting ready for a party or something in 2 weeks, you can take the double dose and start to see if your hair, skin and nails improves.
Excellent. Excellent. We all need that. Okay. So if you go over into your chat function over here, guys, and just make sure you've got it listed so that it's all panelists and all attendees, but I'll see you anyway. Okay. I'm going to ask you a question, and the first person to write the answer in is going to get the giveaway from Alison. Okay. So what is the name of the Facebook group to come and be a part of our community? It's the same name as the whole thing. Here it is, Weddinar. Good on you, Lisa Light. Oh, that's so cool that you're on here, darling. That's wonderful. And we've got 2 answers in there, so let's give the 2 away to those. That's perfect. We've got Fiona Hall and Lisa Light, who are the winner of those 2 products. So that's wonderful. Thank you so much, guys, for coming on. I really, really appreciate all your time today. I have to admit, I was like just furiously going, oh my gosh, apply that to the wedding industry, apply that to the wedding industry. Like, it's so awesome to have outside advice and then start thinking about these things from a different way, or just reinforce things that we have been told and go, yeah, you know what, that really is true. So thank you so much for coming on. If you want to watch this again, it's going to be on YouTube on the Weddinar channel. You can go onto Facebook to be a part of our community so that we can all start working together. And it's a closed Facebook group. So if you've got questions as well of other members in the wedding industry, what have you guys been, what are you doing with COVID? How are you coping? Been a few questions on there about what do we do about deposits, things like that. We want that to be a real forum where we can all share ideas. So it's closed and it's only other members of the wedding industry. So that's Weddinar on Facebook. And then of course there's the podcast. So if I like social media. There's a lot of people who are great at social media. Everyone's got their social media thing going on. But right now, I think it is all about turning those inquiries, that engagement, those direct messaging and inquiries, the DMs into money in the bank. So the podcast called Weddinar is basically, I've got the first 5 episodes launched on there, and it's all about everything that happens after social media. So we're having a look at how to sell without selling. If you're like me, and you know, the idea of initially learning about sales was like, oh, I don't want to be a Google AdWords consultant. I don't like hard selling. You know, we all started in the industry because we're passionate about what we do. But if we want to keep doing it, we're going to need to sell ourselves. So it's all about how to sell without selling, how pricing and packaging strategies. There's an episode on there that's really good, that's coming up soon, all about overcoming objections. So how we can kind of list down what are some of those common objectives that we often receive, and how do we overcome them so that we can really be overcoming those objections before they're even brought up, so we can close the sale even easier. And again, more deposits and more money in the bank. So that's on iTunes and on Spotify. So you can go on there and check it out. And of course, you can go to the Rachel Enlighten website. I've had so much fun. I've been coaching more people than ever before. And we've got some group courses coming up, but the one-on-ones are already going, and it's super awesome. So I think that is everything. Thank you, ladies. Have a great time. Thank you, Marius. Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, yes, thank you. I will have a very big birthday weekend. No one wants to see me on Sunday morning. I'll be doing this. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us, Rach.
Thank you, guys. We'll see you later.
Bye.